Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart for those of you that are new. And today we have a 7 game NBA slate breakdown here on DraftKings for Tuesday nights. You guys already know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get right into this breakdown. So, starting off here, the first game we have the Lakers versus Toronto. Obviously, a great matchup here for the Lakers. Anthony Davis and LeBron are questionable, but both of them should be good to go. I mean, we know they're fighting for that play-in spot / playoffs, so we know they're going to at least play one, if not both of them. They really need to win. Obviously, an easy matchup here. You kind of want to take this win in case people get injured. You kind of need to bag this win here. So, with that in mind, I would assume Anthony Davis and LeBron are good to go. I mean, they both look like fantastic spend ups on this slate in this matchup. Just hope this game stays close. Toronto's been pretty bad. Obviously, they've been tanking pretty much the whole season since the trade deadline. But with that in mind, I don't think there's a need to really get to Austin Reeves or D'Angelo Russell here in the mid range. They're priced fine. Like, sure, you can take a shot on them if you land on them, but I would not go out of my way to play them and lock them in. I mean, they're seeing solid minutes. I mean, we know they have good upside. It's just kind of more so kind of a coin flip on like what they're going to give you, whether it's going to be like 35 plus or if they're going to go for like 30 and their price tag, if they go for that, not going to hurt you, but it's not going to do any good here at those price tags. With that in mind, I don't have much interest in the rest of this team here. Obviously, Vanderbilt's out, Vincent's out. That's just going to be more minutes to guys like Torian Prince, Dinwiddie here at 4,300 should see solid minutes off the bench, even though he's been pretty bad. But expect solid minutes for guys like Russell and Reeves, probably close to 35. So I mean, it does bump up their appeal a little bit more. I think they're strong secondary options, but still don't think I'd go out of my way to play them. But I still think they're solid options here. Moving on to the Toronto side. For Toronto, Quickly and Barrett are both probable to play the Lakers here. So with them being back, obviously it really hurts and really kind of takes away any interest in any of these other guys in terms of offense, like Bruce Brown, Grady Dick, Freeman Liberty, Nowara, any of these value guys, I don't have much interest in at all. RJ Barrett and Quickly are going to dominate the offense, and they're priced about right. So it's like there's not a lot of interest for me personally in this Toronto side. Maybe you could get to Kelly Olynyk. They're going to need his defense against Anthony Davis. He's been solid. He's gone for 8 or more assists in 4 straight games. So we know he's kind of that poor man triple double upside, as you can see there. So don't mind if you land him at 6,700. Fair price tag for him. Moving on to Milwaukee here versus Washington. Dame's already ruled out. Middleton and Giannis are probable here. So obviously in this matchup against Washington, going to be really, really hard not to get to at least one of these Milwaukee Bucks star players in Middleton or Giannis, if not both of them. I mean, you really can't pass up this matchup against Washington. They both look fantastic. I do think more people are going to default to Middleton here at 7,100 for the price discount, but Giannis at 11,500 looks fantastic. Don't mind if you land on Bobby Portis. Once again, he's been pretty solid off the bench. Been pretty productive. I still think Brook Lopez is a fine GPP contrarian option. Still, really hasn't had that upside, even with some stars missing throughout the season. But still, we know he has huge upside if he hits a few threes, gets a few blocks. Always always fairly in play for GPPs just because of that upside. Beasley, I expect him to shoot a little bit more. Expect him to see a little bit more minutes as you've seen the past couple of games. So at 5,100, you can land on him. I don't think I'm going to go there, but obviously in this matchup, with Dame out, that's a lot of usage to go around. To guys like Giannis, Chris Middleton, they're going to soak up a lot of that. Then obviously more is going to go to Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, Malik Beasley. So those guys are all solid there. We'll see if Pat Bev starts. He started that last game there. I had a really, really good game there. I don't expect that to happen offensively for him, but we know he can kind of go out there and kind of put up like a Draymond Green game where he goes for like 10 points, multiple assists, multiple rebounds, some blocks and steals. So at 4,500, if he starts again, obviously he's going to be like a mega chalk, but he's pretty much a free square at that point. Even if he does bad, 4,500, not really going to hurt you at all for that price tag. Really hard to pass up on that. And then in terms of some value, I don't mind if you land on Connaughton and Crowder. They're there. They'll get the minutes. It's just, it's still going to be hard to trust them to be productive offensively, but they're cheap enough to take a dart throw on if you're looking for some salary relief. On the Washington side here, Kuzma's out, which obviously really hurts this game for, staying close. Denny, Poole, Kispert, Bagley, all fine options if you want to get contrarian and just pray this game stays close. It's going to be hard because it's like if you're going to play 1 or 2 Milwaukee Bucks guys, sure, they can go off and the game still, stays close enough for them to have really solid games and pay off their price tags, especially at their ownership. But, if this game gets out of hand fast and, multiple people on the Bucks kind of chip in, it could really hurt you if you get a lot of exposure to this game. So a lot of risk here in this game, but obviously a lot to like there on the Milwaukee side. For the OKC side here, going against Philly, SGA is questionable. Jalen Williams is questionable as well. Obviously, that's big news because they're the two main guys on offense there for the Thunder. We'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of different scenarios. Obviously, if Jalen Williams is out, obviously SGA looks great. And then the secondary guys like Chet Holmgren, who looks really good. They don't really have like a star to go to after that. Sure, Dort will be more aggressive. Giddey will be a little bit more aggressive. He's been a lot better recently. But, I say Isaiah Joe would be a pretty solid option there off the bench. Pretty score independence, but he should be a little bit more aggressive. Aaron Wiggins here, another one of those guys who could see close to 20 minutes. He's decent in minutes when he's out there. Same thing with Gordon Hayward. So there's a little bit of like value interest here if there is no Jalen Williams or even SGA. But I'll assume one if not both of them are going to be good to go. And with that in mind, SGA looks great. Jalen Williams is fine if you land on him. And I do have a good amount of interest in Chet here. Been pretty disappointed, as you can see, the past week and a half. 10.5, 37, 14, 32, 12. Very up and down. Doing with a lot of foul trouble, just bad games overall. Wouldn't be surprised here if we get a nice Chet masterclass here against Philly. So I do really have a good amount of interest in him right now at 7,000. If you're trying to get different. Obviously, he's on a cold streak, so he could still go very cold. But I do like the upside there for Chet, especially if there's no SGA or Jalen Williams. Expect Chet to kind of step up here after a little bit of a cold streak. For Philly here, Embiid almost back. There was a chance that he was going to be back for this game, but he got ruled out. So I expect the team to be led by Maxey here, who is questionable. I think he did miss that last game. And Tobias Harris and Kelly Oubre kind of led the way, along with Kyle Lowry, campaign. They all did pretty well. So that's the big news there. If Maxey misses, obviously offensively, the two main guys you want to target offensively, just pure offensively, would be Kelly Oubre and Tobias Harris. They're going to be the most aggressive, but then obviously Kyle Lowry and campaign are going to do all the playmaking. As you can see, Kyle Lowry only shot 6 times, but still went for 30 plus. Same thing with campaign. They're just both way too cheap there. He played 38 minutes. He was a lot more aggressive than usual when he gets into that starting role. So that'd be the interest there. Obviously, load up in campaign, load up in Kyle Lowry, way too cheap there. And I wouldn't mind getting to at least one if Tobias Harris and Kelly Oubre, and that's if Maxey's out. Now, if Maxey's in, I do think you could still get to a guy like Tobias Harris. Kelly Oubre would probably shift to that bench role, kind of be the scorer off the bench. I would have a little bit of interest in him, but I'd still prefer going just to Maxey or Tobias Harris, and then maybe taking a shot on one of the secondary guards like a Lowry, but I wouldn't have much interest in that if Maxey is back. Moving on to the Knicks here. Once again, I mean, they're just going to play their starters 100 minutes the whole game. So Brunson looks like a fantastic spin-up, even in a tough matchup here against Miami. Same thing with Hart. He's just going to play the whole game. Another one of those guys, really solid play. Same thing with McBride. I mean, all these guys, these three main guys are going to play, as you can see, pretty much the whole entire game. So it's really hard not to like them at their price tags. In terms of kind of like secondary plays, sure, you can land on Dante, one of those guys playing a ton of minutes. He shooting the ball a ton. It's just his upside, in terms of rebounding, assists. You really need kind of an outlier game. Otherwise, McBride's going to have the ball. Jalen's going to have the ball most of the time. So it's hard to have for him to have enough upside unless he's not hitting his shots to really pay off 7,000. That's why I feel better with McBride, who's a little bit cheaper, playing a little bit more minutes. Obviously a little bit better defensively, and then Hart, he does have that triple-double upside there. So they're both better plays than Dante, but obviously Dante will probably be a lot lower owned than those guys. And then, as I said, in terms of secondary options, I still think you can land on Hartenstein here, even with Mitchell Robinson back. Hartenstein has been seeing solid minutes, as you can see, past 2 games, seeing almost close to 30 minutes. He's been very productive. Precious is the ones whose minutes have kind of gone down, but he's been productive enough. 4.6. I do think you can take a dart throw on him if you wanted to. But obviously the big news right now is Mitchell Robinson. If he's out, obviously Hartenstein and Precious are going to see a ton more minutes. They'd both be really good plays there. But obviously if Robinson's in, it does kind of limit the ceiling a little bit more on Precious than it does Isaiah Hartenstein. But they would definitely be in play, but obviously less appeal if there's Mitchell Robinson back. On the Miami side here, I think Jimmy is probably the only standout to me. Now, Rozier's questionable, but he should be good to go. Duncan could be back for this game as well. It looks like he's going to. So with that in mind, I mean, you have pretty much a fully healthy team besides Tyler Hero. But still, I think Jimmy's just way too cheap here. Kind of the end of the season, they need to win games. Expect the ball to go through Jimmy here and expect him to be pretty aggressive. So After a few, 4 pretty much bad games in a row. I know there's been some blowouts there. Cleveland. I mean, it's pretty much been 4 straight blowouts for them. That's why he's really flashed kind of a high ceiling there. But he's been really good recently. So really, really like Jimmy here in this matchup at 8,000 to kind of lead them to hopefully a victory there for obviously the Heat if you're a Heat fan. But overall, just if you're going to play Jimmy DFS wise, obviously you want him to go for 40 plus, which at the 8,000, in that matchup, I do think he has a really good shot at getting that. Moving on to Houston here versus Minnesota. Should be a really good game here. Jalen Green, been absolutely on fire. If you want to ride a hot streak there, don't mind it. You should see, as you can see, 40 or more minutes. Going to shoot the ball probably 20 plus times. As you can see, he has huge, huge upside. I still think he's pretty risky at 8-9 to get to, even though he's been absolutely amazing the past month. I just think he's just a little bit too scoring dependent at times, a little bit too streaky to pay 9,000 for. Like, yeah, he's been good at getting rebounds and assists. As you can see, he's been absolutely smashing it, but I don't know. It's just one of those things. If you're looking in that 9,000 range, I just think there's guys who have the same ceiling, if not safer floors, and probably going to be less ownership. Fred VanVleet, same thing. I should see a ton of minutes. Like the upside there with him. Obviously, a little bit more boomer bust, but as you can see there, he does have a good stretch where he can go easily for 40 plus in this spot. So I do really like him. Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr., they're there. They have upside. It's just it's hard to really trust their price tags there. Jabari Smith Jr. a little bit more easier to get to at 6,400. Once again, just not seeing a ton of shot attempts, even when Sengun out. You really hope for him to get close to 15 a game. Really struggles to get that mark. So right now, these guys are all just kind of secondary options. I'd really just prefer getting to Fred VanVleet. And if you want to get a little bit riskier, I'd get to obviously Jalen Green. Moving on to Minnesota here. Absolutely love Anthony Edwards doing everything for this team. One of those guys, as you can see, 9,400. I mean, he's going to be playing 40 minutes, shooting the ball 20 plus times. A little bit cold recently in terms of his, games, in terms of like fantasy points, but still pretty much has like a floor of 40. You can obviously go for 55, 60 plus. So do really like him in this matchup, especially if you're going to do a little game stack with a few Rockets players, a few Minnesota players. Don't mind that. Gobert is always a solid contrarian play there. He's been having a really, really good season, especially recently without Cat. He's had some really, really solid upside, even though he's not a playmaker offensively. But him and Edwards are probably the two best plays. Nas Reed more of a kind of a dart throw GPP play, just in terms of he's pretty pricey. As you can see, the minutes have not been the best. Kind of moving back to that off the bench role there for him. Conley always been playing GPPs. As you can see, 2 great games in a row. Wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people go to him here in the spot tomorrow, and he does. He goes for like 20, 25 fantasy points and hurts people, but he's there. Don't mind it, and that's really it. Moving on to Cleveland here versus Utah for the Cleveland side. Donovan Mitchell has been really, really struggling the past 2 games, coming back from that nose injury. As you can see, 4 of 13, 3 of 12, shooting absolutely terrible. But we know the upside here, especially in this matchup against Utah. So wouldn't not be surprised if he gets off hot in this game and absolutely, destroys this late, nukes it. So 9,000 against Utah, absolutely love Donovan Mitchell. I mean, once again, with a fully healthy team, it's just really taking a shot at him and then maybe Mobley, just because he is a little bit too cheap here coming off that injury. With a fully healthy team, usually I want to get to him because usually he should be priced close to 8,000, and that's why he's more of a stay away. But now 6,900, he just is still a little bit too cheap there. Same thing with Mitchell, just in terms of them being too priced down because of their injuries and the other guys being priced up. So those 2 are my favorite plays there for the Cleveland side. Moving on to Utah here. Laurie out, Collins out, Clarkson out. So expect Sexton and Keontae George to really lead the way here offensively. Not the best matchup defensively going against Cleveland, but expect Keontae George to see 35 minutes, probably shoot the ball 15 plus times. We've seen this multiple times throughout the season when there's been no Laurie and kind of no Clarkson. Keontae George and Colin Sexton are going to lead the team offensively. They both should be playing close to 35 minutes, if not more. As you can see here in these games, this is the kind of upside he does have. 6,200, really like that price there. Sexton is priced up, but he's been way more efficient. As you can see, he has really, really solid upside. So they both look great. You can definitely play them together. They both have enough upside to get there together. In terms of some value, Hendricks looks like a very solid play there. Obviously, foul prone at 4,800. He should be playing solid minutes. Expect the same thing for Walker Kessler. So there's a lot to like here for the centers, power forwards for the Utah side in terms of Kessler and Hendricks. That's really it. Sure, you can take a dart throw on Bryce here. He probably should see 25 plus minutes. Offensively, it's kind of a mixed bucket of what you're going to get from him, but 4,200 definitely worth taking a shot on. And then moving on to this last game here, San Antonio versus Denver. We got the news that's, Vassal's out for the rest of the season. So same thing with Jeremy Sohan. Keldon Johnson's out for this game. So it doesn't look good for this game to stay close. So I would assume Victor would usually be chalk, but with those guys being out, it's probably a massive. I haven't looked at the spread yet, but I would assume it's close to like 12, 13, 14. Yeah, so it just makes these guys more so just interesting ways to get different. Obviously, Victor, we know the ceiling with him if the game stays close. Expect Trey Jones to kind of step up a little bit more offensively. He's fine at 5,700. They did start, I think, Champagne here, so at 4,200. He should see run even if the game blows out. Same thing with Malachi Branham. He should see some run. So they're there. They're fine. I don't mind getting some. Cedi Osman got the start as well. Did fine. So it's like we have good, solid value in terms of, players from the Spurs. It's just, if this game blows out, I would not be surprised if they run out, Mamu, I can't even say his name here, but Mamu, Wesley, Graham, like these guys could definitely crack the rotation. Sissoko, they can get ugly. So that's just the downside here. Like you could easily get two Branham or Champagne, two very young guys that should see solid minutes, and the game could blow out, and Doc or Pop could rest them. Like it could just be one of those situations where you get popped. So that's why I'm kind of hesitant to get to the Spurs value, especially in the matchup against Denver. But they're playable. And then obviously on the Denver side, a fantastic matchup here. So if you feel fine with this game staying close, would not mind getting into Jokic here. Murray's questionable. I would not be surprised if they rest him just because of this matchup. The Spurs pretty much have nothing to play for. Should be hopefully an easier game for the Denver Nuggets is probably what they're thinking, which leads to Murray most likely resting. But we'll have to wait. Obviously, we do have to wait for the injury news to kind of make our decisions. But I would not be surprised if it's Jokic again. Murray sits, and then Reggie Jackson starts for Murray. So if that happens, Reggie Jackson, very, very good play. MPJ, more so an okay GPP play. Same thing with Gordon. And obviously Jokic, if you feel good with the value, would be a fantastic play. So that is the early slate breakdown. As I said, as you guys can see, there's a lot of question marks on the slate. Jokic, we still don't know. Anthony Davis, LeBron, SGA, Tyrese Maxey, Quickly, Murray. Quickly should be good, but Murray, Jalen Williams. So a lot that really could shift this slate by the time we get to the afternoon tomorrow. So as always, stay updated with the injury news. Hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.